Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vierman, and I'm here with my friend and trusty producer, Max Kerman, as well as our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham, and intern Erica is in the house. Guys, people have been asking for it. We haven't been able to get together since the most historic sporting event of my lifetime, and I think you could argue up there with some of the greatest sporting events in this country's history. The Toronto Raptors are NBA world champions.
Yeah.
It's pretty spectacular.
It's been a pretty incredible run. The last couple of months have been amazing.
I'm still in shock. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It is wild. And it's so interesting because people on Twitter and our listeners have wanted to hear our reaction pod to this sort of monumental achievement.
This makes me happy that people were craving the pod.
They've even
after
messaged
the Raptors
me.
won.
They've been
Really?
like, we can't wait for the pod.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So full disclosure, though, we came in here. We're recording immediately after the parade. It's 6:30 on, Monday? And we're all in a weird mood, I think, or in a kind of a shitty mood. And so we've agreed, because I talked about this before we went to air, should we talk about what we were feeling after Game 6, or should we talk about what we're feeling right now? And we all agreed, let's get the annoying shit out of the way, and then hopefully that'll get us in a good place for us to talk about the Game 6 win. Mike, talk about your day and the plan for the day, because both of you, your wives were out and about, and kids were around, I believe. Yeah. So tell me about it. I haven't seen you at all.
Yeah, no, I mean this. We found out the parade was going to be today, Monday. They won the championship. Was it on a Thursday, I believe? Yeah, it was Thursday night. So, yeah, we were looking forward to the parade, and it's one of those things where it's like you knew it would be this sort of massive Toronto event. There hasn't been a parade quite like this since I think the Leafs had a parade in, what was it, 67 or something like that.
Must have been a Jays parade at some point.
Yeah. Great point. There was a Jays parade, but I just don't. Oh, no, they did it in the Skydome, though.
Oh, they did.
So it's like
and
it was.
TFC.
It was. Well, yeah. So there's TFC and the Argos have had parades, but I'm saying they haven't been at the scale that this has been. Mm-hmm. And to your point, Max, the Jays, that was isolated in the Skydome, so it wasn't like whatever the parade route was. And I could be wrong, and maybe Jays fans will be like, it was all through the streets. I don't think there was anything like what we saw today as far as fans in the streets. The scene at Nathan Phillips Square, it was immense. It was incredible. So again, it was all downtown. I live downtown, so I thought it would be amazing to go. I wanted to see it with Danica and our daughter Winnie, because I just thought it would be such a great sort of thing that, you know, one day, many years in the future,
there will be photos, adorable photos of Winnie sleeping in a sea of 2 million people
while Kawhi Leonard holds up his MVP trophy and we all chant, you know, MVP, MVP. So yeah, like I just wanted to be a part of it with the family, so that one day when she looks back at the photos, I'll be like, you can tell people that you were there, you know, when we had the parade.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of that.
Where did you go?
So Dan and I were at right at Queen and University. So we had this like really good sort of corner staked out. But here's the thing, and I don't know if this is the city of Toronto planning or what, but like the parade was 3 hours behind.
I want to get to that.
So
because I'm pretty fucking pissed off right now.
So not to kill it, but again, this is not something that's happened in this city on this magnitude for, you know, 30 years if we want to count the Jays or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I mean, I had a baby. We had our spot plotted out perfectly. They were supposed to be in Nathan Phillips Square by 12:30. So we were still there with like a good like hour and a half until they should have gone by us at University and Queen. It just kept dragging. I had like a perch like plotted out. I had like, it was so perfect. But then it's like, you know, we fed the baby. We actually, for the first time ever, changed the baby holding it. Like it was a two-person job. I just held the baby like as if you're going to baptize it. And then Dan, like, she like did the diaper, but the baby was wiggly. It was like a really good free change.
That'll be the story from this day. Like
we
changed you in public.
What's that?
Shit or piss?
Luckily, it was only a number one. But we anticipated
still impressive.
We thought it was going to be a 2. That was it, because Dan thought she smelled something funny. And because it's so enclosed, there's so many people around us, we were like, oh, we need to change this baby so that we're not the people that are making this area smell like poo-poo. Mm-hmm. So ultimately, we did a free change, and we were very proud of ourselves.
Free change, is that what it's called?
Yeah, I just made this up. And we
sometimes they'll cost you.
we pound. Yeah, exactly. Could have gone disastrously. So we punched it in. We were like, teamwork makes the dream work. So we're feeling pretty good. But the sun was out, you know, which was great. But once you're sitting out there for hours and hours on end, and it's like, the other thing, there's no reception downtown. Mm-hmm. Basically, because everyone was on the network, no LTE worked, nothing worked. So I couldn't even get any updates or any. I didn't know. It wasn't like, oh, the parade is progressing. It's on Lakeshore right now. I didn't know anything. I eventually had to call my brother Greg, because I knew he'd either be by a TV or in Nathan Phillips Square and at least have the inside info. And he's like, hey, right now they're just turning up York, but in order for them to get to you, it's going to probably be another hour. It's moving at a snail's pace. There's people in the streets. It was bedlam. Dogs, cats, living together. Chaos.
Where were you, Shane?
I was, well, initially I wasn't sure if we were going to get off work because I had Monday planned to take off, and then my friend John Popoulos is like, I don't know about that, Shane. They're going to give it to everyone as like an
you'd feel stupid if you took the day off.
Almost national holiday. So I was like, okay, and then I don't. And then I messaged Mike the night before. I go, Mike, what's the deal? What's our boss saying? Because Mike's very close with Randall, who is our boss. And he's like, I don't know. I'm going to ask him right now. Randall wasn't getting back. Then I asked Popoulos. I was like, hey, is this email coming out? Like to all the employees. He's like, it's more of like an implied thing. Like, just kind of take it off and they won't say anything. I'm like, Randall doesn't roll like that. Like, he'll feel like supremely disrespected and he doesn't care about basketball. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get there early and...
There's nothing worse, by the way, than feeling supremely disrespected.
Yeah.
It's such a funny song.
As soon as you said that's like supremely
Well, that's the highest form of disrespect.
It's such an earworm. Just so you know, he was supremely disrespected.
So I was like, okay, here's my plan. I'm going to get there as early as possible, walk around, shoot some video just so I can say I experienced it, then sit at my desk wearing all my championship gear, and I sit right outside Randall's office and kind of make like puppy dog faces, and then he'll be like, get the hell out of here, Cunningham. But I need Randall to do that. Otherwise,
You're just sitting at your
he's going to
desk.
be like, because sometimes I'll just assume, like if it's a terrible snowstorm, I just won't come in. And my boss will be like, where are you? I'm like, oh, Randall.
This was assumed.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, it's crazy. I just assumed. He's like, never assume. It makes an ass of you and I. No, he doesn't say
And
that.
I feel supremely disrespected.
So I was like,
you
okay,
and I. It's you and me, but yeah.
whatever. Randall's not the smartest boss in the world, okay? It's not me telling it incorrectly. But so then I get to work, and Randall's not there. I'm like, shit, what do I do? Like, I can't make the puppy face. And then Mike informs me that an email, in fact, did go out. You just have to ask your manager. So, but I had been Instagramming, so I'm like, geez, Randall's going to assume I just didn't even wait for the email, and I was just gallivanting across the streets getting all this great like footage of all the crowds and all the antics and stuff. So I was like, oh, Mike, we got to take a photo of us in the office to prove that we're here at our desk.
Because we were both in at like 8:39. Like
Smart.
Yeah.
So then took that picture, posted it, and then I was like, hey, Alex, guess what? I do get the day off so I can meet you because my wife.
So she was waiting to hear.
My
from
wife,
you.
Alex, had already just not taken her supply teaching job, so she came into the city. But she came in a little bit later than me because when I came in, it was like I got to the city at 8 a.m. But at about 9, they started barricading the city off into 2 quadrants. So I go to meet Alex at the Go Bus station, but it won't let me go there because it's totally barricaded off. So I go, oh, you're going to have to come to me. But they wouldn't let her to me. So I could see my wife, and I'm waving at her. Oh. But it's about a 2.5-hour walk to get to me, even though...
Even though you can see her.
Yeah, even though
Across
we're...
the street.
Yeah, we're only 20 meters apart.
That's crazy.
So she tried to go through the underground tunnel.
Yeah.
But then they closed...
It's called the path.
This is like some dystopian science fiction future.
It's the path system for anybody who's been to Toronto.
My
Yeah.
love.
But then they blocked that off or whatever.
wow.
So that was supremely impossible.
Not quite
Thank you,
good.
Max.
Thank
when
you, yeah.
when you go for it, it doesn't work. And then she eventually got to the barricade, and she goes,
All right, the baby? No baby.
"No, baby." She figured it would be
She
too
left on the other
dangerous.
side of the barricade.
Yeah, see ya.
You'll understand.
I'm lighter this way. But she
What
asked,
did you say?
I'm lighter this way because without the 20 pounds that my daughter weighs.
Sure.
I just lost 20 pounds. But she's at the barricade and she's asking the people, like, what's going to happen if I kind of just jump over that small distance?
What happens when a hot chick jumps over a fence?
Well, that's what she was basically insinuating. She
Yeah,
was.
I know.
And they go, well, a guy did it and the police tackled him. And then Alex goes, would they tackle me? And
Oh my god.
and then the girl's like, they probably will. Like, you know, they get all bent out of shape when you assume that they won't just because you're a pretty girl.
It makes an ass out of you and I.
It makes an ass out of you and me, Max. You
Sorry,
and me.
You and me.
Anyway, she tried it, but she got some people to kind of block her so the police wouldn't see, and she actually hopped over the
wow.
barricade and ran to freedom. And then we got, and then
you embraced
she's like, "Oh my god, it felt like Escape from Dannemora," which was one of the series we loved
Yeah,
about the
great show.
prison escape. She's like, "That was so exhilarating. Oh my god, that was totally worth it."
Big makeout because she loves to smooch. We learned this on an earlier
She
podcast.
went for a little makeout and like darted her tongue in, and then I gave her the face, and that was like it. Like there's kids everywhere. But yeah, and then I caught a Snickers bar. But I predicted, because my arms are longer, right? So I predicted that I could catch a Snickers bar if it came within catching distance.
Yeah.
I caught the Snickers bar. So I'm thrilled, right, just to catch the one bar. Then at the end of the parade, there's a van, and they're giving out more Snickers bars, but not just a bar.
Oh, no.
Good reveal. Great reveal. Is this
Cases.
For our listeners, Shane has 2 giant 48 packs
This
of
is
Snickers
96 Snickers bars. that they
Wow. You're making money today.
made. And 2 things of Juicy Fruit.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Gonna
Yo,
move ya.
we should take a photo of this, tag Snickers, and they'll sponsor the pod.
Yeah.
All right.
Done.
Because that's worked before in the past. This Perrier is great.
Yeah, no, it's true. This is free sponsorship.
So does
too,
anyone want
kind
a
of.
Snickers?
I'll share
I'll
one with
take
somebody.
one.
Yeah. Do you want to split one, Erica? Could you do the whole thing?
We can split.
Oh, you can do
She's
the
just
whole thing.
being nice to you, Max.
Here.
She wants her own chocolate bar.
Yeah, you could just eat half and then throw out the other half.
We have so many. Just to chuck it.
It's like a new form of currency.
I already ate one. Shane came back to the office
Oh
with them.
man, great job, Shane.
Yeah.
Um,
So what was your parade experience?
oh, I'm eating the Snickers. Can you finish anything more to your story?
Well, here's the weird part, and this is I wasn't even sure if I was going to bring this up, but as we were leaving, there were so many people. We needed like somebody to create a path for us, and we noticed these 2 big guys on like a mission, and they're walking, and they got backpacks, and the one guy's like, "I'm telling you, man, just pull it out and just do it," and he's like convincing him. So in my mind, I'm like, this sounds like some weird like shooting thing.
Some terrorism.
I swear that was my first thought, and we were like paranoid about like Alex is hyper paranoid about like a bomb or like some sort of thing like the Boston Marathon. So my brain was like, oh fuck, imagine that was like some shooting thing. And then when I get to work, back at work, I hear there was a shooting, and I'm like, geez, imagine these guys actually
Were the
did
people.
it. Yeah, but it's such a.
It wouldn't have been them probably.
I know.
So my experience, I didn't have any plan for today. I was just gonna like wander around. I didn't expect to get anywhere near the stage. I just expected to kind of walk around and take it in, because that was my favorite part about Game 6 and what we did afterward was just wander around King Street.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. And everybody was out and about. So I was like, I don't care if I get close to the stage. But I got a text from our gal Chantel, who runs the BOD, the Board of Directors Lounge at the Air Canada Center, and she was putting together this sort of VIP experience for people going to the parade. So she said, "Do you want to come to this thing?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to go to this thing." So Ash, Mike, D, and I go to this viewing area. It's a deck. It's to the west side of the stage, closer to Dundas. And we get there at about 11 o'clock, and we're taking it in. It's like it's pretty incredible because we're a little higher just to see the sea of people.
Yeah.
And I'll say this. You know how you talked about going to Jurassic Park, and even though it looks like people are crammed in there,
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of room, and it's actually really well run, and there's clearly capacity
Yeah.
in that venue. There was not that at this event. People from 11 o'clock were crammed in, and there were kids in like baby strollers in the middle of the crowd. And the whole time I'm thinking, man, this is crazy. Like, I don't know how anybody is dealing with this. And then, of course, the parade is super delayed. And they must have run out of programming to show on the screens, because I feel like in that instance, if people are distracted and there's somebody on stage entertaining, then you can kind of forget that you're like surrounded by a million people and it's pretty fucking hot outside and people are like various levels of sort of irritated.
Yeah.
But they weren't showing anything, and the music kind of stopped. So I'd say, I'm going to get this probably a little bit factually wrong, but probably between 12 and 1, when the team was supposed to be showing up, it was kind of silent there. So people were just sort of hanging out, and it's getting more and more crowded. And I was thinking, like, this is kind of like a recipe for disaster. Like, this is not good. Eventually, someone came out to sing "Oh Canada." They ended up getting the video walls going with like montages. And as soon as that happened, people got in a much better mood because they showed like a playoff montage. They
should have just rolled a game.
They should have just rolled a game.
Honestly, played Game 7 of the Philly series. That would have killed 2 hours.
That would have killed 2 hours, and no one would have thought about it.
They would have loved it.
Yeah.
They would have cheered at all the right points. They would have all been waiting for the shot.
Yeah, and the thing which is weird about this event is even though it's like a family event, it's Monday at noon. Like, this is not like the devil's hour by any stretch. Walking there's dudes with like open alcohol, like open bottles of liquor on Queen Street, like just sort of milling about. So I'm like, so for a lot of people, it was what you wanted to have, which was like a moment
with your family.
With your family.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like that for everybody. So then finally the Raptors arrive, and that is very exciting. And I was. It's funny though. There was a moment. It was probably around like 12:15 when I realized they wouldn't be showing up till about 3, where I'm like, I think I'm just gonna leave. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to do this. And by the way, we're in the shaded area, and there's hors d'oeuvres being passed around, and water. Everything is free. I'm like, I'm getting pretty tired.
Alcohol?
No alcohol.
Right.
What tier celebrity are you on this deck?
This is just kind of like, I don't know who was there. There's some media members there. There was. It was
So you're
more,
pretty high in this.
Well, there's
this
more
company.
people who like worked at MLSC and probably some corporate sponsor people. So,
So they're bigwigs. You're a legit celeb.
Sort of, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Their
whatever.
suits. You're the talent.
Yeah, something like that.
That's pretty cocky, man.
I saw you goaded him into it, and then you killed him. I saw the nut pop into a few photos.
He actually, well, the nut was supposed to. Well, let's get to the nut in a little bit. Actually,
Okay, all right,
we'll
we'll hold
save
off
that,
on him.
which is awesome. But so the Raptors take the stage. The mayor starts to speak, and kind of to the right of the VIP area. But by the way, earlier. At probably around noon, Mike D goes to me. He's like, listen, if all these people want to break into this VIP area and kill us, you know what? We deserve it. Because we're like...
It's the French Revolution, baby.
Of course. That's exactly what it is. Anyway, the mayor starts to talk, and that's exactly what happens. People start pushing through the barricade because not even they want to get into the kind of the rafters where we are, but there's clearly empty real estate in our area that is fenced off that will get you a little bit closer to the stage and will allow you to even see the stage, because people to my west couldn't really even see the stage.
Yeah.
Like there was obviously pretty good sight lines for a lot of people there, but for many people there was no good sight lines. So they break through the fence, and at that moment I'm like, oh god, this is kind of turning crazy. Like, I don't want to be around for this. This is just like the whole scene.
Your spidey senses are going
Yeah,
off.
begins to get a bit spooky, right? And I get it, because if I were in the middle of that thing, I'd want to fucking rage too. So that happens. A bunch of police come over. They kick people out of this VIP area, close off the barricade. That happens. And then about 2 minutes later, people begin to scram, like you see in those terrible internet videos when there's a shooting happen.
Right.
Everyone fucking gets out of there. You can't see what happened, but something definitely happened maybe about 15 meters away from me, and Mike, Ash, and I go, that's it, let's get the fuck out of here. I had to go to a dance lesson anyway, so it was good timing to leave.
Just kind of buried that lead, but go on.
So we get out of there, and then immediately we hear there's been a shooting.
Wait, is that serious? You went to a dance lesson?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
Yeah. And
He,
then
he actually moonwalked out of there.
can you imagine? That'd be the best exit ever.
He's faster moonwalking.
Yeah.
These lessons are really paying off. Hope you're all safe.
Later.
Anyway, go on.
So then we hear that there's been a shooting, but it turns out whatever happened in my area of the crowd was not the actual
wasn't
shooting.
that.
Something happened in my area of the crowd, but the shooting happened on the opposite corner. So
Sure.
And the thing that, so I feel like some of this happens, a few things. Like the first thing that goes in your mind is this fucking asshole. Who's this fucking loser who brings a gun to this event and opens fire? Like, fuck you. Like, I hate you so much. You've ruined this for everybody. So that's my first instinct.
Yeah.
And then I zoom out a little bit more and I go, it's the institutions. The institutions fuck this up, because it's like, well, I think about the kid the dumbass that shot people. I'm like, oh, that kid's been underserved. You know, this is a disenfranchised person who clearly didn't have a shot left. So I think about that a little bit. And then I also think about the fucking city of Toronto who botched this so badly.
Yeah.
And I, by the way, I'm killing the city of Toronto in this instance as a fan, as the biggest fan of the city of Toronto. Our city runs pretty fucking well. I think there's really well-meaning and really smart bureaucrats and politicians that keep this shit going on time. And it's way harder. They do not get nearly enough credit for the fact that the subway works probably 362 days of a year. Garbage gets picked up. The streets are cleaned. Like, I admire institutions, and that's why I think we need to have bigger institutions, not to make this about politics. But they fucked this up so much. And I understand this is the first time they've ever had to do something like this in maybe ever. You know, like, we killed a fire department for going to locals only at 1:45 and kicking everybody out because there's too many people in the bar. But you need those institutions to keep tabs on things, because when those that don't exist, then, you know, shit like this happens. So I don't know. I just think there's going to be a real retrospective on today, and there's going to be some real reckoning at the city of Toronto for how to do this better, because it was unacceptable. And I get they only had 3 days to turn this around. I get they've never done it before. It's so fucking hard. But I was just so furious. I was just as mad about that than just. And then,
But the second you make it
else.
into the finals, I think you got to start preparing for it.
Sure.
It's not like they only have 3
And
days.
it's just like go to extremes if you have to. Shut down every street downtown. I know that's inconvenient. I know it sucks, but it's like
do it.
People were spilling into the streets. You know, Erica was saying that it's like there were certain parts along Lakeshore. There's no barricades, so fans were walking up to the convertible that Masai Ujiri was in.
Yeah, well, Populus's wife Sarah got a photo
Just
with
walked
him.
up to the car. So because those people were able to walk into the fucking streets, it slowed the whole parade down to a snail's pace. It's like you have to barricade the streets like crazy, or make the fucking parade route shorter, so it's literally a 40-minute stretch. That's it.
Yeah,
and
like
keep it
Bremner
moving at a
in
clip.
front to fucking
Exactly.
or-
Start at the ACC
Yeah.
and go to Nathan Phillips Square if that's where you want to do it. But that presents its own bunch of issues. It's free. People are going to squish in. People are camping there overnight. They were there. It went too long. People were getting crushed at the front. They didn't have water. It's just like you need to actually like spare no expense, and you have to police it more if you're going to do it this magnitude. Maybe they would say they know there'd be this many people. I don't know. I guess they would say, hey, listen, for that many people and that little sort of like a rule, it could have been a lot worse, and it was a lot better. You look at it that side of it, but yeah.
You know, this is the other side of this conversation. You know, we play in a lot of venues where it's like heavily unionized, and things are so expensive. And the reason why unions exist is because they go, no, we're going to run this, and we're going to run it well, and we have professionals that get paid like professionals, not a bunch of teenagers, you know, working at like, you know, the cash at Burger King or something. Like, these are people who are paying to do a good job, and these are the rules. These are the rules you need to abide by, and the show's going to run smoothly. And that's what happens when you attend those productions. But when it is a free-for-all, shit falls apart.
When we got to University and Queen at like 10:30, 10:40, cars were still going down the side that wasn't the route on University.
Yeah.
Cars were still using Richmond in the light, like until enough people just kind of like filled in so they could no longer use those streets more. It's like, why hasn't this all been shut since 8 fucking a.m.?
Yeah.
Like, I know it's an inconvenience. It's once. And honestly, it might not happen again for another 30 years in this fucking city if it holds to what happened. You know, the Jays were the last time. Hopefully they get it right the next time. But yeah, it was a real bummer, everything about it. You know, we were all watching it because Shane and I didn't go to the ceremony. We were only at the parade. You were at the ceremony, but not the parade.
For all of, 20 minutes.
So you didn't see Kawhi do the laugh.
No, I was out of there for all that.
But I feel like blaming Toronto is kind of letting Burchell off the hook. Isn't it?
What do you
Well,
do
because
wrong?
if this went well, we'd be praising him, right? Because he seems to take offense when we criticize it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's disappointing about the day is that we got the best weather. It was
Yeah.
really perfect weather. It only got too hot because it was late.
And-
if things ran on time, it would have been the perfect weather.
And the parade was beautiful. Like, when you look at the images of the people, the sea of people in the streets, the way that the players were responding to it, like, I think those players will never forget it because it was something magical.
Yeah.
And I will say that the parade part was amazing. I just think that the ceremony part was a fucking abject disaster.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, this is all to say bigger government or smarter government, or like when not to make this into like a political rant, and I'm assuming most of our listeners would probably agree with me anyway, but like when people say like keep government out of our lives or whatever, it's like, well, somebody's got to be in charge of this kind of thing. And like this is obviously a much bigger example of the way government acts in our lives, but they do this in so many ways, big and small, and we got to like just keep pushing for people that are in charge to take their jobs really seriously.
Double barricades would have solved so many problems.
Yeah.
One last thing I will say is obviously shooting went down. Matt Devlin, the Raptors play-by-play guy, came out and he I guess he had to say something because the crowd was spooked at the back, especially where the shooting was, even if the people in the front didn't quite understand what was going on. I thought he handled the situation very well considering. I mean, it made the whole thing very bizarre. People didn't know what to do. We were watching on CP2 and we're like, what is this? Is it a terrorist threat or was there actually an act of violence or something? And that just came out and he was like, this is about love and let's, be calm. Nobody panic. We just have to make sure something's okay. And then we will continue the ceremony. He took the mic away from Larry Tannenbaum, mid speech.
Yeah, anyone else doing that, I find it would have been terrifying. But he could pretty much say anything.
I think that was his shining
Yeah.
moment. So I just wanted to give Matt D a shout out. Do you want to say something about Devlin?
On that note, yeah.
And then my second thing I was going to say is that the Toronto police did get it handled. Those two guys, the suspects, are in custody. The last reporting I saw, I don't know since we've come in here, and there's two people injured. I think they've gone to hospital. I don't think anybody's deceased yet, but two people rushed to hospital, and the police found these fucking guys, and they're in custody.
They said it's non-life threatening, so I don't think.
So
they're going to die, yeah.
Thank the heavens for that. And you know, the police acted quick. You can't stop crazy people from doing
Yeah, and
despicable
God bless the
things.
police that are there
Yeah.
doing their best. It's just like on an organizational level. I was talking to John Popoulos and his wife Sarah, who's a high school friend of mine, specializes in behavioral psychology, and he was telling me there's a principle, and I forget what it's called, but it's like
Belding?
Sorry,
Nothing. Doesn't say by the belt joke.
good work.
Thank you.
Called something to the effect of organizational transparency, where in this situation where there's big crowds, if you're honest with them and upfront about what is happening, then they'll get in line. So if they were to tell the crowds at Nathan Phillips Square, the parade will not, the Raptors will not be here for another an hour and a half. They are currently at this intersection. This is what's happening. Then the crowd would have been, I think, a lot more at
They
ease.
would have booed.
They would have
but
booed.
then they
For
would have
3
had their
seconds.
they would have had
but
their
then at least they
expectations
know.
set.
And
then people would have looked at each other and been like, "Should we just take off? Yeah, we
should
should
we
just
go?"
leave."
But because it was so uncertain,
Yeah.
and they only showed the feed every once in a while.
No one had internet.
Right, the combination of no reception.
Oh, last thing I want to say is there are some fucking idiots who were walking on the arches.
I heard about that.
I fucking put those motherfuckers in jail for a year, because it's like they ruin it for everybody. At one point before I arrived, there was like 20 people up there, and somebody from the stage had to go, "Listen, this is not happening until you idiots get down." And I just I don't know. I get that people get carried away and people are excited and people want something funny for their Instagram, but
you know
it
how
just
that
drives
doesn't
me
happen?
nuts.
You either put barricades at the bottom of the arches or you have to put manned posts.
Yeah.
But this is the infrastructure that you're talking about.
Yeah.
You have to go, what are they going to climb? Because they're going to climb everything.
Yeah.
People were on all the street lights. It was, you know, in a lot of ways, and maybe this is a good segue to the night of Game 6, but like we walked amongst the mayhem. It was crazy in this city. But it was pretty benevolent. It was organized in a way, but that was a smaller number than was going to be what was today.
Yeah.
And they should have known. Okay, so everyone that went out after Game 6 at midnight in downtown
Times
Toronto,
that by 5.
and families.
Yeah.
And everybody can come, and it's during the day. It's not like all these people sort of coming out and lurking through the night and sort of, you know, drunken party mode. These are, like you said, a mix of those people, because all those same people are going to show up for this. Plus, you know, 500,000 people are there with their kids.
Everybody who is in Mississauga and Brampton and Scarborough and Newmarket that want to come downtown for it, that did not watch it downtown.
100%.
Yeah.
And my experience of the parade, again, we did not go to Nathan Phillips Square for all of the reasons that it just looked like it was going to be impenetrable if you didn't get there at 7 in the morning. My experience of the parade was absolutely lovely, other than the delay and just waiting around forever. People were kind. People were helping each other. Like, it was goodwill. It was fun. And this is like people that had been sitting around for 3 hours that were like, you know what I mean, could for every reason be annoyed. But it was almost like whenever you get an update, like, ooh, they're at front, I heard. It would like, you know, it was like fun. You become part of your gang that you were sort of stationed with. So
Yeah.
it was a great time there. And again, I didn't go to what sounds like, you know, the pit of hell at Nathan Phillips Square. But,
Yeah.
the ceremony, until the incident, seemed great on stage. Everybody was in a great mood. Kyle was great. Kawhi's speech ended up being great. I heard a rumor that Drake was supposed to perform.
Well, I think Drake was supposed to perform,
they
and
shut
I
it
was so
down.
excited. But honestly, at noon, I said, if Drake actually performs, this place is going to go insane.
Maybe that's why he didn't.
Yeah, but I mean, I bet you that the police were like, we have to get this thing over with. Like, we can't have like a hip hop concert happen. And Drake shows are intense, right? And everybody would lose their mind, like it's the Beatles. That just couldn't happen
And
at
his
that
whole,
hour.
did you hear his speech?
Drake's speech?
Yeah.
No.
He came out, and I was like, okay, is he? Because I'd heard that he was going to perform. So it's like, is he going to perform? Is it going to be a speech? And he just came out, and his energy was kind of like, it wasn't low, but he, instead of going hype, like, we did it! You know, everything you've seen of him since we've won has been very intense. And instead of coming out and sort of like waving a flag and sort of doing that, his energy was more like peace and love, like Mr. Burns after that treatment in that one Simpsons episode. Like, hi, love everyone. You know, he's like, and I think it's because he knew, shit, there's just been this shooting. I need to come with this energy. And he goes, I do this at my shows. Just turn to the person next to you and hug them. And so everybody hugged each other. And then the Raptors all turn and hugged each other.
I didn't know that. Good move.
So it ends up being this move that's kind of like in response to this terrible thing that happened that quelled the crowd, as opposed to him coming out and, you know, started from the bottom or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought he handled that really well. But again, you know, this is why we can't have nice things, because in large groups, there's always going to be one piece of shit that ruins it. Should we move on to more positive things?
Yeah, let's get to Game 6.
But how are you guys feeling now? You feeling all right?
I feel
like
that
we
was
talked through it.
cathartic.
It felt good, yeah.
I feel like that was cathartic. I think it was good to get that off our chest.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get to Game 6, because Game 6 was the fucking greatest night of my life.
It was phenomenal.
Which is crazy. You know what's it's crazy to say, because I've had so many amazing nights. I've had like my fair share plus 10 of awesome nights, and that would include big band nights, but also just like amazing weddings, like with friends, and just like, and also like the random, like, you know, I was thinking about like that night Dan and I got caught in the rainstorm. Like that was a great night. You know, it's
that
like
was a beautiful
so
night,
I've been what term do you use, Mike, when you talked about your good fortune in life?
It's an embarrassment of riches.
Embarrassment of riches.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Like the Raptors, that win might have been my favorite night ever.
Oh, it was beautiful.
Isn't that weird to think that? It's like I like that more than like us playing a sold out show somewhere.
Yeah,
That's
It's
weird. Isn't that
interesting.
weird?
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe it's just like the value. Like you now play solo shows everywhere all the time, and you have been. For
Maybe it's
many
rarer.
years.
That's
it's more
maybe
unique.
why.
So
Okay,
I think
fair,
for you, it's a greater high psychologically and just emotionally because it's so unique.
Yeah. So as we know, with this Raptors playoff run, as it's proceeded into the conference finals and the finals, organizing viewing parties has actually been a point of stress because more and more people want to do it with you.
Yeah.
And then it becomes very difficult to find a room that can accommodate everybody because every bar is packed. No one's a condo or apartment can really sort out like the number of people we want to. So I was actually stressed out on the day. We had a table at Real Sports thanks to the Nut.
Yeah, we did.
A table for 6, but then I was getting phone calls from other friends that wanted to join. And I called Real Sports to see if we can get more people in. They're like, no, we're at capacity.
I heard a rumor that Shania Twain, no joke, was had rezos at Real Sports, and she also tried to expand her guest list, and they wouldn't let her, so she pulled out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway,
So they wouldn't let you. Didn't have the juice to expand her table.
Yeah, so
we
we had
only
table
had
for
6,
six.
which is a nightmare. It's like Sophie's Choice. It's like, okay, which one of our friends do we? It's just like impossible. And so what you do is you go, well, no one's reached out to me today. Like you basically, it's like, who's talked to me most recently? You're the one that's in.
I know it sucks though.
It's tough
because then there's other friends who rely on you to reach out a little bit.
I know.
And that's part of your friendship is like, oh, I'm the guy who reaches out and makes the plan.
I'm an organizer.
I'm an organizer. And then if you don't do that, then you're thinking, oh, that person might be staying at home tonight. Like I have a childhood pal, Danny, like who wouldn't text me, but I know would appreciate coming out. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
So
totally.
then, but then also I want to watch it with you guys. So it was a really tricky thing to navigate.
Well, because this was the Nuts thing where he's like, table, Real Sports, 6 guys. He's like, you're
By the
in.
way, the Nut voice is the same. It's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So he tells me I'm in. I'm like, dope. I'm doing that. Is my brother going to be there? Cool. That's all. That's fine. That like I'm in. I don't care who the other 4 guys are. Obviously, I care. I was really excited. Well, because you were going to be one of them,
Yeah.
obviously. And then, but it took the burden off me because then when people were reaching out to me,
You're
saying,
like, it's not my party.
I said, listen, I'm doing Real Sports. Like Birch sorted it out. Sorry. I'm
Yeah.
like, but let's all meet together after.
Yeah.
Which is true, and I sincerely do want to watch with people and bring people along. I want to bring everybody along. I hate exclusivity. Man.
Yeah,
it
it's tough.
sucks.
Before we get to our night, but Shane, what did you do?
Just quickly, like I had the most boring night, so I'm kind of like I don't have an exciting story. But my wife wanted me to stay home because she was claiming she was a big Raptors fan. Also, like I am, even though she looks at her phone, since we're swearing every fucking game. So I kind of am like, don't look at your phone if you're a big fan, like stay off Instagram. So then she was like, I am a big fan, so we should all watch it together and have the moment. So I would have loved to be at Real Sports, but I am very happy that I was with my wife watching the game. Yeah, so interesting thing that happened. I guess Randall started messaging me, which is odd for him to message me during the game. He's like, listen, this is a big night for Mikey. I want to do something kind of funny, kind of heartwarming. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, do you think Danica will find this funny or get angry with me? And I read it. It was this very touching message. It's like, here's Mikey. Mikey's the greatest guy. Mikey's my fun guy and all this stuff. So I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't get what Danica could be mad at. And then he sent me the photo, and it was just Winnie's head was cut off, like Mike's daughter's head.
She's framed out of the photo, not like guillotine.
And the joke was supposed to be kind of like, oh, this is the most important night of Mike's life. And then I tried giving him a line, like I was like, oh, this is the most important win in Mike's life because his daughter's name is Win.
Yeah.
Anyway, Randall didn't use that line, but he's like, so you think this joke will work and like no one will be angry? I was like, for sure no one's going to be angry. And ha, 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 ha. Yes, I think it'll work. Randall and I have kind of different sense of humor, but I was like, for your sense of humor, I do think this will work. Then I check the comments later, and Mike's like, Randall, this is the most touching, best thing anyone's ever said. And I was like, oh, fuck, Randall's going to be mad at me. To which he actually was a little peeved.
Why was
at
he
me
mad
that
at you,
I
though?
said-
It sounded like
because
it
he's
was.
like, oh, Mikey sent me a message. Oh, this was so touching the next day. Because he wanted it to be kind of like,
He wanted to be funny.
like kind of like a prank
Oh.
more than touching. But Randall did mean everything he said too. But
Yeah.
he wanted it to have a little bite or edge to it. And then I was like, oh, like, but you didn't use my line. And then I told him my Win line. He's like, I don't get it. And then I was like, oh, it's because his daughter's named Win. He's like, oh. And then, like, our sense of humor don't always align. But
I know Mike is a passionate Raptors fan, but were you slightly insulted? And they're like, I'm a Raptors fan too. Or were you okay with the fact that Mike was getting the treatment?
Well, it's hard for me. Although I am a big fan, I'm not as big fan of Mike.
Sure,
I've
fair
never
enough.
claimed to be. I think Mike gets the prize for biggest Raptors fan in our
Yeah.
group, and any post, I'm happy for Mike more than anything. But then back to the game part. Now it's like Alex and I had been burned before.
With taking shots too early or just about to take shots?
We didn't even take the shots. We had to pour the shots back in the tequila bottle.
So
last
sad
night,
when
which
they
is-
lost Game 5.
which is horrible thing to do. So Birch will message me. He's like, "Don't you dare pour." He wasn't talking like Randall, but he's like, "Don't you dare pour those tequila shots till you know
Yeah.
we're going to win." And then he messaged me at a certain point. He's like, "Pour those tequila shots." He's like, "And tell me how they taste." So I poured the tequila shots with 0.9 seconds left. Fairly assured we were going to win. That was even considered a big risk to me because I was burned before. Took the tequila shots, never tasted better, and then I was just so happy. And then I did 3 more tequila shots and was very hungover the next day.
Nice.
Home. Yeah, but it was a great night.
So I ended up watching the game at the Thompson Hotel. There's a viewing party that manager Ash caught wind of. It ended up being awesome. It was a 40-person movie theater. So if we ever need to like view a movie at a private setting, that spot is fucking wicked. So shout out to the Thompson Hotel. They had candy and like a liquor setup, which is kind of my dream.
Yeah.
For free. So you could just go make your own mixed drink. You could go grab a Budweiser. You could get like a bag of gummies or chocolate. And I invited my friend Dave Friesen, who listens to the pod, so shout out to Dave.
What up?
He lived with me at 85 Arkell. We played intramural basketball together as like 17-year-olds. We won a 3-on-3 championship in second year, no big deal. We still play basketball together. He messaged me on the day of the game asking what the plan was because Dan Hamilton was going to stay in because he had something important to do the next day. And Craig, his other basketball buddy, was also going to stay in. So he's like, what's the deal for tonight? And I said, oh, I'm going to Real Sports. And then Dave is not a demanding guy. Dave's a very low maintenance dude. And he goes, damn, should have messaged earlier. My bad. So he clearly was like, he
putting one of
was
those-
just like, shit. I fucked up. I should have thought about this earlier. And then I was like, change the plans. Come to the Thompson Hotel with me. It'll be great. He goes, oh, sweet. Like, I was getting slightly depressed thinking of watching the end by myself. What time should I be there? Like, he was so – I could tell how much it meant to him that he got to watch it with some friends. And then I invited my friend Matt Fruckman, who's I've known since I was 9 years old, who's a massive Raptors fan. He's in our basketball group.
Is this Book Club Matty?
Yeah, Book Club Matty. Danny Rosenthal, who my earliest memories of playing
It's like
basketball.
your day one crew. You have them all
Yeah,
out.
day one crew. And my dad. So
Also day one crew.
also day
Literally.
one crew. Mike D and Molly came from the band. Manager Ash was there, and it was awesome. And I knew this was going to be a cake and eat situation because I could watch the game with people that I've known forever that also love basketball, but I also knew I was going to meet up with you guys after. So
Right.
they won. We wandered down King Street. It's alive, as you say. It's like this benevolent, joyous. Everybody's just in the best possible mood. There's no weird vibes. There's nothing nefarious happening. We meet up with you and your gang and Greg and everybody at Earl's, and you graciously bought everybody shots and beers.
Okay, before we'll get to that in a second. Erica, what did you do for the thing? Let's go around the table. We'll find out what did you do for the big win.
I watched at home, which I was really happy about because
Home
once
in
I was
Waterloo or in Toronto?
No, in Toronto at my house with my roommates. And once I saw the crowds on TV, what the streets look like, that didn't appeal to me.
Low key night.
Yeah, I was really happy. I was editing some stuff for the pod, actually.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good.
great job.
Smart
Go
to
follow us
slip
on
that in.
Insta. Yeah, no, it was really chill. I had a few beers and called it an early night. Felt great the next day.
Oh, that's good.
But the office was empty, so a bit of a wasted evening.
Well,
Because I could have showed up a little late.
Yeah, if you work at MLC, everybody was not working
that was the day to
No.
not come in. Yeah,
Totally.
I was hungover as hell. I took a vacation day the next day. So so we'll connect our nights when we meet up. So I ended up going to Real Sports because you dropped out to go to Thompson. It opened a spot, so I invited my buddy Simon Jane. Obviously, we all know Simon. And then buddy Brent was there. My brother Al, and it was just a really, really good crew, man. People were hanging, like people were in.
It's a great spot to watch sports too.
It was, and it was electric in there, and it was, once you started, like the game was very intense, right? And you live and die with every possession, and you're like, is this going to happen? And is there going to be a Game 7? Because I don't know if I can handle a Game 7 on Father's Day. Like, if they don't win this thing, it's just like, it's a lot to think about. And I felt a lot of weight in my chest as the game was unfolding, and I was sort of getting a little more drunk as the proceedings continued on. And once it felt like, okay, we're in this thing, okay, like we're going to do it, I started to feel good. But I also felt good in Game 5 when they were up, and then I kind of got burned.
This is it. When we were up with 2 free throws in 0.9 seconds, I was like, there's a good chance the Warriors are going to win by 16. And they're going to turn this around because they've done it before. Because it feels like the Warriors always do that. They're like, you think you have the game in hand?
When Danny Green
That's
walked over to Curry and handed him the ball and said, take this three-pointer. Like, that was a scary moment.
Yeah.
That when Danny turned it over,
Oh my God.
And I knew that Steph would have a look. We were up 1 at that point. I thought, my God, Curry's going to hit a bomb. They're going to be up 2. There'll be like 5 seconds left, and we'll miss a 3 to win it, and we're going to have to play Game 7.
And they'll be doing the smiling, laughing thing, like, we planned this out the whole time.
Couldn't
that's
believe
what
it.
they fucking do.
Couldn't believe it.
Yep.
And then it was going to be, let's do this for Clay and KD.
Yeah.
And then they were going to have some miraculous Game 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was just like, when Curry misses the shot, Kawhi, boardman gets paid Leonard, comes in, gets that big rebound, which leads to the scramble, and then they call the timeout that they don't have, and then it's a free throw thing. I was like, oh my God, like we're going to win this. But because it took so long for the end of the game, because it was a weird, junky end to the game, I had a lot of time to think about the fact they were going to win, because it was at that point it was like, there's no way they're not going to win this at this point. And it was weird. It was bizarre, and I was thinking a lot, and I was thinking about my dad, because I was like, he would have loved this. And so I had a couple photos of us at like Raptors games over the years, and I was like, if we win this thing, I do want to like post something. And my brother was right there. And then as the clock actually ticked down, the thing I told you guys about, everyone was sticking fucking cameras in my face. Simon Jane, Al Yurkovic, people, but I just kind of ignored it. And me and my brother had like a huge like hug. We were just smiling ear to ear. I FaceTimed Danica. We were just like, I was like on top of the world, and she was like, I can't believe it. It was a really magical moment, and I did get emotional to the point where I was like, I was a little teary eyed. Like when they won, I was smiling, so, like it was almost incredulous. Like I couldn't believe it was happening. So it was kind of like I was overwhelmed with happiness and joy, and that was maybe the wetness in my eyes. But then I posted this post about my dad, like of me and my brother and my dad, like Raptors games and stuff like that. And then that actually made me pretty emotional. So then I was kind of sitting in the booth as like people were like, confetti's falling in Real Sports and everybody's hugging. And I was kind of like, that's when I started to sort of like get emotional. And then the guys kind of grabbed me and they're like, let's do a shot. And I was like, all right. And then I kind of got my shit together. And then Sean Menard, who was with us as well, was like, let's get the Bills. We need to get into the streets. We need to get into the streets. And he was really, really kind of a leader. And then so we went out into the streets, madness, and made our way to Earl's, where you guys were, and we joined your gang. And I walked in and I ordered. I just didn't want I was like, no matter what, like we are having a night. So I sat down. I ordered 10 Coors Light and 10 shots of tequila. So 20 drinks at Earl's, and I didn't even think about what it would cost me.
What did it cost
myself.
you?
It came to $140, I think, or $130.
That's pretty good, actually.
That's what. So even the server came up, and I was like, "What's the damage?" He's like, $130. I'm like, I would have thought it'd be worse. He's like, yeah, me too. and then so yeah, I gave him a decent, and then I was just like, take beers, handing them out to people, and people were doing the shots, and it was just really nice. Well, actually, when I walked up to Earl's, you guys were still kind of outside in the cluster before they walked us to our table, and you just like you hugged me and like lifted me up, and we just kind of embraced like in the moment.
I was really looking forward to seeing it.
It was beautiful. And then our buddy Mark Myers came by and hopped a fence to join our little booth area, and we just drank into the night.
Earl's patio?
Yeah.
Damn.
Mark is very nimble.
That's some high fences.
It was like parkour. We were joking, and then a girl who had nothing to do with us tried to imitate him to sneak in, and she couldn't do it.
R.I.P.
Lauren was checking out my photos from that night because Lauren fell asleep because she was working at the hospital. And a picture of Mark Myers came up. And she's met Mark a few times, doesn't know him that well. She goes, he's like a Hollywood movie star. Mark Myers, directing partner with Shane. He did a few Arkells music videos. And he's so goddamn handsome.
Well, he's always like 155 pounds, too.
Yeah.
Which I consider ideal weight.
And he just eats like pizza and Snickers. It's very frustrating.
Really? He
and
does?
chips.
That's all he eats?
When
he has the
worked with
best
us-
metabolism in the. You would hate.
He
this
looks
guy.
like he's like the poster child for the Aryan race. Like,
I know.
really,
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. Like, do you ever think about like dudes you do?
Yes.
I don't have to cut that part out.
I certainly like think that person's very attractive. I get it, but I'm not like.
I'm not that interested in doing a dude, but if you had to choose one,
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
You
I
guys
see
would be
what
Mark
you're
Myers?
he's up there.
Yeah, I know him too well.
Yeah, he's
It'd be weird.
too like nerdy for me. I want more of like a bad boy.
Yeah.
You know who I'm into? Tyler C from The Bachelor.
Oh my God!
Which one's that? I'm horrible with names. Tell me what he looks like.
He's the hottest guy on the show.
Max, I saw Lauren
which
on
one?
Sunday, and we were
That's
just
all
talking
you
about,
talked about.
Yeah, that's
I
all we
heard
talked
about
about.
that. Yeah.
Tyler C.
I could be with like.
Sorry, I gotta look him up.
I could be with like a Harry Styles. He's very pretty.
Yeah, I'm into Harry Styles too.
You know, like I'd like
No,
a
no.
I like
A pretty
more-
boy.
Yeah, I think that would be more my
Wow.
style.
Tyler C.
This pod is all over the place. There's no way this is your first drink.
No, I swear to God.
Oh, yeah, I like him. Yeah, he's kind of like it's like that southern thing. And he has that perfect like squinty eye like
He's rugged, but he's like a model, so
he's
it's
like-
also soft at
He's
the
like
same
Channing
time.
Tatum mixed with
Tim Riggins or something.
No, who's that squinty-eyed actor who kind of fell off the map?
French Stewart. I'm
No,
just
no,
kidding.
no.
Third drop from the sun. Very
No,
squinty.
who's the guy? He was in the basketball movie.
Yeah.
Josh
Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a lot like
but
him.
super charming. Every line that comes out of his mouth is the most sort of like smooth and easygoing, but also kind of smart at times.
And
Josh
he's so,
Hartnett's very good looking, yeah.
He's so about her. Like, he's so into it already. He's very like.
Do you notice they had another guy on the show who was the previous hot guy before him, and he just disappeared? He kind of looked like Superman.
What do you mean? Was he on this season of The Bachelor?
Yes.
Okay,
and-
we got to keep moving.
Okay. He
Sorry.
just
Mike is
disappeared,
checking
though.
out right now.
Yeah. I was halfway out the door.
Yeah. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Dudes we do. No, okay.
Let's bring it back to the city.
So
Mark Myers is very
Mark
handsome.
Myers is great. Anyway, it was awesome. Such like a wicked night to spend with everybody. And I don't know about you, but I've been floating since it happened.
I will never get over it.
Yeah.
There are times where it happens constantly where I'll just turn to Danica and I'm like, this is so fucking surreal. I cannot believe the Raptors are NBA champs. Like, you cannot take it away from us. Banners hang forever. I know I say it all the time. That will end up being the title of this episode. But it's like, it's true. Like, they are now in the NBA history books. This institution, the NBA, is something that we care about so much that we like follow the minutia of the league and all of the drama and all of the stuff that makes the NBA the greatest league, I think, out of the four. It's hilarious. There's storylines. It's like we are now a part of that history in a way that cannot go away. For those of you that don't know, every NBA team that's ever won a championship, and I believe there's 11 that have never won an NBA championship. I could be wrong on that number. If you've won one, you get a little gold patch on the back of your jersey. You'll now notice it whenever you see someone
I
like
didn't know that.
the Lakers or the Detroit Pistons or the Golden State Warriors.
Forever.
They always it's a little admenium that you get to your jersey if you've won, and on it says the number. So for like the Celtics, their little gold patch on the back of their neck says like I think 17. I don't know how many toes they have. We will now have a gold patch that has a little times and it says 1, like the Dallas Mavericks or any of those other sort of one and dones, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Portland Trail Blazers. We are now a part of that history, and next year you will see on our jerseys a little gold patch. You cannot take that away. It's fucking brilliant, and it just makes me so happy. And I still don't quite believe that it happened.
Okay, last thing. So the next day, my dad texts me, and he goes, Max, you need to get Adam Burchell. He spells his name wrong, but Adam Burchell on the podcast because the nut, I think we mentioned this in the last podcast, he flew private taking corporate partners to Oracle for Game 6.
Yeah, he went to fucking Oakland.
And he's sending us these photos from after the game. He's on the court after the celebration. And then we're getting other photos, like he's with Marc Gasol at some after party.
And what's his name?
Siakam. He's with everybody, and we're like, oh my god, this is the coolest.
And then he's drinking 2 drinks at once. I believe it was a glass of wine and a beer, wearing the ski goggles that they wear.
Oh, he had ski goggles on?
Yes,
I
the
didn't see
same
that.
ones.
Oh man. So we're like, this is going to be awesome because we wanted to do a Raptors pod and we needed to have.
Give us a great story.
Yeah, we have a correspondent on the ground at Ground Zero.
Partying with the Raptors.
He's a close friend of ours. And we're like, this is perfect. And also a guy who loves attention and loves talking. This is so easy. And so I text him and I'm like, hey, hey, can you pod Monday? And he goes, it's the parade, no chance. Why the fuck are you podding on Monday? It's the parade. Everything shuts down. And I go, I mean, after the parade, we'll bang it out. He goes, nah, it's an all-day affair for me on Monday. Big after party for the staff. I'm like, okay, when are you available to pod? And then he goes, it's probably best don't come on. Some things just best left unsaid, you know. He goes, he suppose you know.
Like,
he does
you know?
this very annoying thing, Y-A-N-O.
Oh, that's the worst way to
Oh,
spell
it's
it.
so obnoxious. I'm like, I go, stop this. And then he gives me that emoticon where he's like, I don't know, like the hands in the air kind
Shrugging.
of thing.
I know it.
The shrugging one. He goes, and he goes, I can't do Monday. We would need to be tomorrow. I'm like, when's good tomorrow? Okay, good. I think we have an in. Love you, but I'm just not going to come on for this one.
Oh, he loves when someone's eager to put you down.
He's like, it's just better this way. I'll be listening though. Like, stop.
Yeah, he's like, can't wait to hear it.
I can't wait to hear it. I'm like, well, stop this. We're on for noon. And then he goes, I'm out. Love you to bits. I was like, fuck off. This is the ultimate virtual move.
Yeah.
Well, of course, because he knows he's going to get talked about more this way.
Yeah, this is it.
And Kawhi Leonard's like obviously at the apex of his popularity, and it's like he's kind of like silent but gets talked about a lot. So he's kind of taking a page out of his book.
And he's going to have his cake and eat it too because
Good observation.
we're going to talk about him
Yeah.
on this podcast, and then he'll probably come on in a podcast in like 2 episodes from now and tell us the story anyway. So he gets to have both.
Well, he posted all those pictures in the group, which clearly to be asked about, like he posted him with Siakam and Gasol, as we talked about, and then him doing the shots. And I'm like, did you party with Kawhi Leonard? And he goes, yes, but I can only tell you about it in person.
That's freaking hilarious.
Oh, man.
We'll have him on. He'll tell us.
Yeah.
We'll get the dirt. Has you saw him today at the parade? Did you get any goods?
No. No.
I actually saw him on Saturday night. We hung out because I went, oh, you know what we can talk about next pod?
of Mormon.
Book of Mormon, which we've both seen. And so
Yeah.
Shane saw it actually back in the day. So,
No, I didn't see it. I got tickets for
Save it.
Okay, we'll do a Book of Mormon episode. But are we wrapping up?
I think that laugh was really
No. Well, so here's the thing.
Oh, sorry.
I have a thing I want to wrap with.
Okay.
today.
Oh, even better.
So the reason I want to wrap with this is because I was hanging out with my brother and Dan Hamilton on Saturday, like I said, and they reminded me of something that I'd forgot about, and they said that I should do this on the pod. So in 2002, I think, I was a huge NBA fan, and I was watching I believe it was the LA Lakers beat the New Jersey Nets in 2002. So I wrote this song because they were playing We Are the Champions or something while the confetti was falling, and they have kind of like this grouping of songs that always get played whenever a champion wins. So I was like, I want to write a song that one day they'll play if the Raptors ever win the championship. So I wrote this song called On Top of the World. And it's on like one of my little first like kind of like demo EP type things. And I completely forgot about it. But Dan Hamilton, his little brother had a copy of it.
Oh my God.
So he ended up getting a copy from his little brother on Saturday night, and he played it and he showed it. And my brother was like, you need to, because you wrote this song. Nothing ever came of it, just a demo. But you said if the Raptors ever won, you would hope that they would play this like on the speakers at a parade or when the confetti fell in the arena. And the song never got there, but I thought on this podcast I could, in honor of the Toronto
We
Raptors
need to play it.
winning the championship.
Have you ever heard this song?
I've never.
Oh, this song's awesome.
Sing it.
Oh.
Sing it live.
No, we're going to go out on it.
let's-
So
yeah.
we're going to go out on it. And Erica, for our listeners, guys, this is the song I wrote in 2002, hoping that the Raptors would one day win a championship.
Woo!
Not ever thinking that they would, but now they have. And this one goes out to you guys. It's called On Top of the World.
Yeah.
I'm on top of the world tonight, and nothing can stop me now because everything feels so right, and I made it here somehow. So won't you crack me that bottle of wine, put it on ice? Won't you crack me that bottle of wine and put it on ice? And there's nothing you could say that could ever take away everything that I've seen and done. 'Cause everyone, everywhere feels so right. I'm on top of the world tonight, and nothing can stop me now, because everything feels so right, and I made it here somehow. So won't you crack me that bottle of wine, put it on ice. Won't you crack me that bottle of wine and put it on ice. And there's nothing you could do to understand what I've been through, and everyone that I've seen and done. Everyone, everywhere feels so right. On top of the world, on top of the world, I'm on top of the world tonight, oh tonight, 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 oh tonight, I'm singing tonight. Tonight, yeah. So won't you crack me that bottle of wine and put it on ice. I'm on top of the world.
Mike on Much can be found on Twitter and Instagram at Mike on Much. You can subscribe to the show on any platform that has podcasts. Spotify, do it.